So I am working on gluing together a very thick, it'll end up being a very large walnut tabletop. I'm doing it in sections, so there's about 15 inches, there's about 15 inches, and then the other board over there is about 15 inches. And I'm doing it in sections so that I can still run it through the planer to true this up. But I don't want to remove any more material than I have to. I'd like to keep it thick. This is right at 2 inches right now. So normally to keep these surfaces perfectly in line with each other, I would just use my biscuit joiner, and that'd be good enough. But I've been fighting it lately. The last few things I've tried to do with it have been way out of whack to the point that it results in a really panicky glue up. So the good news is I just got a whole set of Jessam doweling jigs. There's a 1/4 inch, a 3/8 inch, and a 1/2 inch, and oh cool, a holder that I can hang all this stuff from the wall and get it up out of the way. But so this one's already got dowels in it, and I'm going to show you how I'm using this jig. That's what she looks like. You make some quick adjustments here. So this is a 2-inch board, and I want the hole to be in the exact center, so I just adjust it. This is kind of like the fine-tuning knob, and this is the locking knob, and put it right at 1 inch, and then that will be exactly 1 inch from the edges here. So the first step is to mark out where you want those lines or those holes to be. So now they'll line up perfectly across these two boards. Now I need to take this back apart and start drilling holes. And now with these boards standing up on edge, I can just take this guy and use this it's kind of like a reticle, this little sighting tool. Come on, focus. Focus, there we go. And put my pencil line that's on the face of the board exactly in the crosshairs there. There's also that dimple at the bottom that works to help you out. And you line that up and get it centered, and then I've been taking just a vice grip and clamping it in place, and then it's really easy to drill the hole out. And I just sort of picked a length that I thought that hole should be, the depth that hole should be. I added 3/4 of an inch for the height of the collar here, so we're roughly 1 3/4. Come on, focus. Stinking phone. Focus. Really? Really? There we go. It's roughly 1 3/4 of actual dowel going either side of the hole. So you just grab it, throw it down in there. And this is really hard to do one-handed. Take the vice grip off, and there we have our nice little hole. The other thing I will do before I actually put it together, looking for tools that are hiding from me, this drill has a chamfering bit in it to help the dowels line up with each other from side to side. I'll put that little bit of a chamfer on that hole, and I'll do it to all of them once I get them all drilled. And then on the other side of things, I already did this part. I pre-cut a whole bunch of dowels. I think these are 3.5 inches if I'm not mistaken. And real quick, like, again, very difficult one-handed, I throw that in a drill chuck, flip on my sander, and I will bevel the ends, both ends of that dowel, so that it also wants to go into that hole a lot easier. And yeah, I'll get all of these drilled, and we'll try glue up. Good morning, guys. It is table joinery day today. I have been working on this table for, well, it's been spread out over several days, but it's really not that much time invested. I had to joint and plane all of the material to give me something, nicer to work with. Then let's see, let's take a look here. These are 2-inch thick, 15 inches wide, and about 80 inches long. There's 1, 2, and a third one of these. These are going to make up the top. I don't know for sure what my final length and my final thickness are going to be. I'm probably going to plane it down just a little bit because these are massively heavy at this point. I do want to point out, this is really cool. This is the seam that came out of the glue up. It looks perfect. I can feel the seam, but you almost can't see that there is a difference in material thickness, different height there. And I really think that's all thanks to, I was using, Jessam's got some doweling jigs, and I used the 3/8 inch ones, and all I did was, you can see a little bit of a pencil mark here after I wiped it off, but you line up the spot, you put the jig on it, you drill it in, and holy smokes, it came out perfect. It was actually a little bit of a battle. Everything was so tight that it was hard to get it clamped together. I had to beat it down with a mallet and finish clamping it with the clamps to get it to actually shut. But now it's perfect. That whole seam is just perfect. It's not going to take anything to get this flattened out. I did pour epoxy into the little cracks and imperfections, and I did it this way. This is still 15 inches wide. I can still fit it through my planer and flatten that whole thing out one more time. Same thing with the other two pieces. And then I will glue up the whole thing, which will not fit through my planer. So the more perfect I have the first three pieces, the better. And now I will only have 2 glue seams in a full tabletop that I have to get to align and fix with a sander by the time I'm done. And knowing that that doweling jig makes those seams that perfect, I'm not too worried about getting that done. A quick note on the epoxy, in case anybody was wondering, this is what I was using. I've got MAS flag, and then I've got their medium hardener. So it's not fast, it's not slow, it's right in the middle. It allows bubbles to come to the surface and makes it so that the epoxy looks cleaner. And then I threw a drop of black dye in there too to make it look good with the black walnut. So that's the top, and then the same thing, we did all the same stuff with the thick chunky legs that go with this thing. Some of them I had big enough pieces. This is gonna be 4 3/8 or 4 1/8 by 3 1/8, and currently it is about 1/8 oversized in both directions. So I'm gonna throw this through the planer again, to finish cleaning off the epoxy, and we'll take a 1/16 off of all 4 sides, and then it'll be perfect. It'll be good to go. But I only had so many pieces that were that big to begin with, so some of these are actually, laminated, glued up pieces. But look how pretty that grain is. This is going to end up looking just gorgeous by the time it's all done. And then, once I plane this down to size, this is today's project. Like I said, I'm not worried about doing the tabletops anytime too soon, because as soon as I have the top done, it's just going to be this monolithic slab that I have to move around the shop, and it's going to be so heavy I can't hardly do it by myself. So those can stay in 3 different pieces until the end. The leg stuff is what I've got to do next. And this is the plans. I sell these plans for, I currently have a dining room table that matches this exact same design. And I sell these plans on the website in case you're curious. Link down below, all that stuff. This is just the 3 pages of it that I needed to remind myself of how the joinery for the legs works, but the plans are much more comprehensive than this. But I wanted to show you, this is what the base of the table ends up looking like, and so the tabletop sits flat on there. So all of these pieces end up going together like this, and here's the individual components. So that's the bottom, that's the top, these are the verticals that make up, I've been calling it an A-frame. And then there's 2 stretchers that hold the whole thing together, and the other cool part is that the stretchers are just bolted to the legs, so that if you do need to move the table, because this one, for example, is going to Wyoming, rather than having to haul this massive thing, all you have to do is take it apart and lay those flat and lay those flat and then lay the tabletop on top of it. And it comes apart and it's really nice. So I'm rambling now. I need to get to work. This is today's goal. I need to take these down till their final thickness and then start cutting the joinery and start making the legs. Hey guys, made some progress on the table. Don't even know where I left off, my last update on it, but here we are now. I've glued one of the leg sets together. This is the top. I should move around so this is the orientation it'll actually be sitting. Glued it all up, put plugs in. In my original, if you go back and watch that video, I actually ran through dowels all the way through this and used that to hold it together, which looks nice, but doesn't look any better than this, and it was more work. This just has screws, you can see in here, countersunk screws that go through it and hold it to the other piece. And then I cap it with these, and doesn't make any difference as far as the function of it. So I glued this one together already, and I figured, hey, let's actually do this in real time and see how this glue up goes. All that purple tape is the corners, the inside corners of the leg where it comes together, and it's going to be really hard to clean up glue squeeze out in there. So the tape is going to try to prevent, it's there to try to make it easier for me to get that cleaned out. And then on top of that, when I start wiping glue on here, I'm going to make a point of trying to keep glue a little bit away from those corners. It's gonna get there on its own because of the tight fit, but if I intentionally try to hold it back from that, it's not gonna squeeze out so bad and it'll be easier to clean up. So, might as well quit talking and start working. And that's the end of that. Wait till the glue dries, and then I can trim those, sand the whole thing on the outside edges where I can do it, and then I can finish assembling the table. I still do need to do the top. I've been avoiding gluing the final top together because then I end up with this monster slab that I have to move around. But that's gonna be one of the next things. I hate to get these all the way through sanding and then finish the top and get that all the way through sanding. So I'll sand this and the top at the same time, and then it'll be good for final assembly. So we're moving right along. That last real-time glue up went really well. The joinery was good, it was solid, so there were no hiccups. The legs are all just assembled and ready to be sanded. These are upside down right now. That's just the way I pulled them off of the workbench and set them over there. But this side I already flush trimmed the dowels off, and those are gonna look pretty good. And then that side I still have to do. But that real-time glue up went well. So I figured, let's try it again. It's time to do the tabletop itself. And this one's stressing me out a little bit because it's gotta end up perfect, and it's gonna take a little bit of finessing to force it together the way I want to. The joinery is so tight with the doweling jig that I used that it's just me racing time to get it squeezed tight before the glue starts to set up. But I don't think it's gonna be that big of a deal. Right now I have the whole thing staged out. You can see I've got the holes drilled in the mating pieces. So we'll run glue across this. We'll pound the dowels in on either side. I'll put a little bit of glue on the top of the dowel before I put them together. And I got my clamps all staged up, ready to go. Normally, I'd put these two down first. These are my two longest, Bessie clamps. And I'd put those down first and assemble these on top of it. But I don't have a wide enough surface to get away with that and still be able to push things together. So I'm just gonna put glue on it the way it is, pound it together with a mallet so that everything's getting started right. And then I'm gonna use these over the top to squeeze them together and shut that gap. And then I think I can flip this up and over and lay it down on top of these and then add the other clamps to the other side. You can see I've got one long piece of pipe, so I have one long pipe clamp. These two, there's a 1/2 inch coupler and there's a 3/4 inch coupler, so I've got two more. The last time around, the seams were so perfect that I only needed 5 clamps. And so I'm hoping, again, that's all I need here. I'll get consistent squeeze out through the whole thing. I have more. Those aren't long enough to go across this width. I think those are 40, and this is 44. I do have, those are clamp longeners. You can use them to attach 2 of those clamps together. So in a pinch, I can use those, throw them on there, and get 2 more clamps on this thing. They'll just look like they're about 8 feet long. But that is the plan. That's enough rambling. You know, I've got these all staged out. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3. So they're gonna go back in the correct order. Now all I have to do is set the phone down and get to it. Let's hope this goes exactly right. There. I'm feeling pretty good about this, guys. I'm gonna finish cleaning up the glue and then walk away for a while. The rest of today is just gonna be spent sanding the legs first and then this, and then working on, finish prep and assembly. Probably tomorrow will be finish, and then I can put it all together. All right. Moving on. We are in the home stretch of this table deal. Check out here. These are the stringers, the stretchers that go between the 2 legs. They're looking really nice. This is just after wiping on some Armor Seal. This is the underside of the table. It is just kind of dry enough that I can touch it and it's not a big deal. Again, underside, so it's not crucial to get this great. I'm about to flip that over and put finish on the top, which is, you know, the more crucial part. I have also not done the edges yet. I plan to do that last so I can definitely wipe the drips. And then over here are the legs. They're sitting upside down right now. They need to just have a clean rag wiped across them, but look at the grain on that. It's unfortunate that this is up, this is the top of the legs, so this is up against the underside of the tabletop, so you're not going to see that very much, but look at that grain. Same thing on this side, look in there. Holy cow, Armor Seal really makes Walnut look nice. Walnut makes itself look nice. Anyway, that is on there. It's got to set up for just a minute, and then I'll wipe it with the clean rag, and then it is ready for, where are we here? My conversion varnish, and here is the, is this a catalyst? Yeah, the catalyst is what they call that. That's part B, so I got to mix some of this into some of this, and we'll spray it on everything, and then it's going to be really, really durable. But right now I've got to flip this over, and then do the top side. All right, guys, here is the finished table. It is currently in my dining room that has terrible lighting, so it maybe doesn't look its absolute best, but it is a very, very nice table. I'm really excited about it. Originally, this was supposed to be my brother's. We were building it for him. He wanted one just like the table that I had here before. That one happened to be cherry. But because of the materials I had to work with, the cherry one ended up a little smaller, and this one ended up a little bit bigger. Now, he's a single guy with a small kitchen, small dining room, and didn't need nearly as big of a table. And having used the other one for a couple of years with my wife and I and our 2 kids, and them slowly getting way too big. They're not paying attention to me, but they're sitting right over here. Hello. We have kind of decided that it would have been nice to have a slightly bigger table. And so once it came to this being finished, my brother showing up to pick it up and spend some time here, we kind of worked out a deal. He decided to take the other one, which I honestly think was a nicer table. There's more story behind the material that went into it. Just gorgeous cherry with a lot of imperfections that had to be fixed, some butterflies, some cool stuff. But we needed a bigger table, so he took that one, we kept this one, and here it is. So anyway, I mentioned that other table. There is a video, a complete, more in-depth video on building this exact style of table from that project. There'll be a link down below if you want to go see that one. And that is going to be about it, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Check all the links below, whatever I've talked about in this video to this point, it's all going to be down there. So anyway, thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you next time.